And welcome everybody to Talk to the Entities book party! So welcome to everybody out there around the world. We are broadcasting this Talk to the Entities book party, Talk to the Entities introduction in 5 languages. And I thank you everybody who's live here in the room. And what can we create tonight? So those of you guys that hear other people talking in the room, that's because there are people talking in the room. It is the amazing translators broadcasting their languages out to the world, to everybody who has the Talk to the Entities book in German, Japanese, Portuguese, Francais, y Español. And maybe Polish, I'm not sure. Maybe Italian, I'm also not sure. So, who is here tonight who wasn't here today for our big course that we were doing? Anybody, any fresh people from outside tonight? Welcome, brave people. Who twisted your arm to get here? Just kidding. So I'm Shannon O'Hara, and I am the author of Talk to the Entities. Now, it's funny because we called this a book launch, even though this book is 10 years old. So it's more like a what can we create with this book today party. So we're here in Paris, France, and we have been doing an advanced course in Talk to the Entities for Talk to the Entities facilitators. And it became an idea to do a book celebration to invite all of the languages that the book is translated into to join us for a conversation in what Talk to the Entities is, what it can be, and the ways in which the tools of Talk to the Entities can expand your life beyond belief. So I was one of those kids that heard voices. And I was also one of those kids that would see things around people and see stuff out of the corner of my eye, and I would know when a house was haunted, and that wasn't normal. And I grew up thinking I was a total freak, and actually believing I was a total freak. And I had the great fortune of having an incredible parent who was there to empower and coach me in how to find the strength in being aware of entities rather than the wrongness of being aware of entities. Is talking to entities, seeing entities, hearing voices, seeing stuff move out of the corner of your eye, you know, hearing the voice of your dead grandmother, is that considered cool and awesome, or is that considered weird and not okay? And unfortunately, we grow up in a world where spirit awareness is very heavily judged. And I definitely felt that. And I came to a point where my awareness of spirits was so severe that it drove me to nearly kill myself. And there are many, many, many people in the world who are very aware of entities, but are not empowered, are not educated. In fact, they're miseducated about dealing with ghosts. It's like, were you ever taught how to work with spirits? Were you taught to not be aware of spirits? Were you taught to ignore that? Were you taught that you were crazy if you thought you saw a ghost? Newsflash, there are more ghosts on the planet than there are people in bodies. They are everywhere. And so I came to a point where I didn't really want to talk to entities because I thought it was super weird, and I knew it was really weird, but I also knew that I either had to say yes or I had to kill myself. And there are many people in the world who are very aware of entities, and it drives them insane. And this is where I had to say yes because I wanted to choose to live. So I said yes to the entities. I had no idea what that was going to look like. And I started speaking up for what I knew. When people would ask me for, my dad used to trick me. My father is Gary Douglas, who is the creator and founder of Access. So I was in this very lucky place to receive a lot of empowerment in being different. And all through my teens, I didn't want to be weird, so I never talked to anybody about what I heard and saw. I didn't want to believe it. I wanted to shut off the voices. I used a lot of drugs to try and shut off my awareness, and that only made me more aware and weirder. And this is the point where I came to wanting to die in my late teens. And at that point, Gary was starting Access. Or not starting it, but keeping going with Access. And he sort of tricked me into doing some Access and using some of the tools. And I had my bars run. So a bars is a very light touch on the head that is designed to dissipate the electrical component created by our thoughts, feelings, and emotions. It is a very passive way of dynamically changing your reality. And so I would get my bars run, and eventually I started feeling better. And then eventually one day I was in my apartment in Southern California. It was a tiny little apartment, and the living room filled up with so many entities that I couldn't see the other side of the room. You know, the other side of the room was like from me to this pillar. Maybe 2.5, 3 meters. Yeah, meters. Americans don't really think in meters, but I'm trying to be international. It filled up with so many ghosts because Access gives you greater access to you. And one of my abilities is talking to entities. And so many entities came into the house that I couldn't see the other side of the room, and I flipped. I freaked out. And I was like, oh no! I knew it was ghosts, and I was like, this is weird. I don't want to do this. This is creepy. And I called my dad. I was like, oh, my house is so full of ghosts. He's like, that's great, babe. And I was like, no. And I slammed the door shut. How many of you guys have slammed the door shut on your awareness? What if awareness was actually okay? What if awareness wasn't going to hurt you? What if awareness was a gift? So I refused. I didn't want to be weird. I didn't want my friends to judge me. I didn't want to admit I talked to entities because none of my friends did it and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't want to be a freak. And over the next few months, my life just got harder and harder and harder. I wasn't feeling good. My body hurt all the time. I was like confused. I couldn't make any money. I felt really lost. And I was out at my dad's house for dinner some months later. And I was complaining about my life. And he said, what did you refuse to do? Oh, I refused to talk to the entities. And I got in that moment how saying no to the entities was essentially like cutting off both of my legs and then trying to walk. It just wasn't going to work. And so I said yes. I said yes to talking to entities, even though it still creeped me out. I still didn't know what it was going to be, but I knew saying no was going to be worse. And that was about 19, 17, 18, somewhere years ago. And so I said yes to talk to the entities, and I started doing little intro talks. And people started asking me for sessions, and I thought, why in the world would anybody want to pay me for this weird stuff? And I started saying yes. And I started doing the sessions. And I started seeing the changes that were happening. And I started feeling better. And the tools of Talk to the Entities began to emerge. And so this book is the story of me growing up till about age 30, I think. And it's everything that I went through as a kid seeing entities, as a teenager seeing entities, as a young adult seeing entities. And there is so much information that we're never given about what it's like to be aware of ghosts. It's like, what if talking to entities was a strength, not a disability? Are we ever told that? Or are we told the opposite of that? So everything that you've decided entities will do to you if you talk to them, will you destroy and uncreate all that, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, PUD, PUC, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And what if opening up to what you're aware of was a key to a magical kingdom that no one else wants, but that you have? So everywhere you've been aware of entities and thought it was a curse rather than a gift, will you destroy and uncreate all that? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, PUD, PUC, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And all of the entities that have been trying to talk to you, and you haven't been listening because you're entity prejudiced, will you destroy and uncreate all your projections, expectations, separations, and rejections of what's okay to be aware of and what's not okay to be aware of? Everything that this is, will you destroy and uncreate it, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, PUD, PUC, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Is it possible to make it a bit cooler in here? I'm trying to find Angelique. Where is she? Kalpana, please, thank you. Hot. I'm sweating. So what have you been aware of all your life that you have been avoiding being aware of? Were you empowered to be aware, or have you been taught by society, by your family, that awareness was wrong, creepy, not natural, evil, and so on? And all that is, will you revoke, recant, rescind, renounce, denounce, destroy, and uncreate it, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, PUD, PUC, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And what if, the thing that really inspired me with Talk to the Entities was what I started seeing was the more Talk to the Entities I facilitated, the happier people got. And I was watching people coming out of incredible judgment and upset with themselves and into awareness about what was going on. Something that I like to talk about is that many of the mental disorders that we have on this planet, schizophrenia, multiple personality disorder, straight up insanity, and so on, are actually people who are very aware of entities. Are they empowered to be aware, or are they medicated away from their awareness? And so I've been able to work with many people over the years who heard voices, who knew they were being followed by entities, who actually were hearing voices and were being followed by entities, and to use the tools of Talk to the Entities to facilitate ease in that area. What if you could change your life by saying yes to awareness rather than saying no to awareness? What is more valued on this planet? Awareness or unawareness? Oftentimes people are choosing to be unaware. We go out at night to get unaware, not to get more aware, right? We drink alcohol to turn off our awareness so that we can access something that we usually don't feel free with. What if it's your point of view that creates your reality? And are you willing to have everything that's available to you? What entities are trying to gift to you that you have not been receiving or perceiving? And what if being more aware of entities was natural, not unnatural? So everywhere that you have been refusing to be the difference that is aware, will you destroy and uncreate all this, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, PUD, PUC, shorts, boys, and beyonds. So those of you guys that are here tonight that are new to us, that you're not in the facilitators class, you are more than welcome to ask questions. The floor is totally open to you. Facilitators, the floor is not open to you, because this needs to be an introduction, unless you have a very introduction question. And so in reading this book, you might find a lot of stories that will help assist you in understanding a lot of the experiences you've gone through in your life. When you think you're hearing voices, or when someone says, I hear a voice, they're actually hearing an entity. They're not crazy. They're actually talking about ghosts. So whenever you hear voices, whenever you say, I heard this voice, whenever somebody says, I keep hearing, that's entities talking to you. That's entities talking to them. Now, once you're aware of entities, what do you do with all that? What do you do with all that awareness? What if entities are just like people? Some are smart and kind, and some are super stupid and not kind. Something that I discovered was that just because they're a ghost doesn't mean they're enlightened or powerful. The more I was willing to be aware of ghosts, the more entities would come to me. And I'd have entities come to me, and they were super lost and confused. Some of them were still on drugs. Some of them didn't even know they didn't have a body anymore. And they'd come to me while I was washing my dishes or brushing my hair or going for a walk on the beach. And they'd come and they'd be like, I need help. I'd be like, what's going on with you? And there would just be all this unconsciousness. And I'd say to them, are you aware you don't have a body? Oh. And then they'd go. And after enough entities coming to me that knew that they didn't know they didn't have bodies, it started to inform me that entities were really unaware and that they weren't these all-knowing, all-powerful beings that so many of us tend to believe. When you die, will your personality be erased, or will you be the exact same person just without a body? And that's sort of what happens. When you die, you don't miraculously become more conscious and miraculously become powerful. So all of the erroneous information that you were given about entities in any lifetime that's just not true. Will you destroy and uncreate all this, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, PUD, PUC, shorts, boys and beyonds. And what if many entities were less aware than you? How would that change your perspective of life? So when all the entities start to show up, what do you do with all that awareness? Because I run into that a lot. People are like, okay, well, if I'm aware, then what? Because it's like super overwhelming and it's so much information and I don't really want to do that. The good news is dealing with entities can actually be very rewarding. So with Talk to the Entities, we have these awesome tools that are for clearing entities, communicating with entities, and receiving from entities. Now, why would you ever want to receive from an entity? Funnily enough, there actually are beings out there that desire to gift to you. If you throw all entities into the same category of bad, can you see the ones that are good that desire to give to you? So everywhere you've decided that all entities are bad, will you guys destroy and uncreate all that? Oh, right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, PUD, PUC, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Sorry, I'm doing the access clearing statement. Does everybody know what that is? Is there anybody who's brand new to Access and has never heard the access clearing statement? Right on. Good bean. Cool. So if any of you guys out there online have no idea what I'm saying, when I say right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, PUD, PUC, shorts, boys, and beyonds, it doesn't make any sense. It's the access clearing statement. Now, access consciousness is, Talk to the Entities is an access consciousness specialty class designed to facilitate greater awareness around the spirit world. Access consciousness is a set of tools and processes to change anything in your life, literally. The access clearing statement is a bunch of short speak that clears all of the energy underneath your problems. So science tells us that everything in the universe is made of energy. The building, our bodies, Paris is made of energy. Everything in the universe is made of these things they call molecules, and a bunch of other stuff, but we'll just leave it to that. Your thoughts, feelings, emotions, points of view affect the energy. In Access, we talk about that you create your reality. Now, that can be hugely liberating for many people, but it can also be very frustrating for many people because you can't figure out how the fuck you're creating some of the shit you're creating. The good news is we have these amazing tools, and one of them is the clearing statement. I won't go into a huge explanation of what the clearing statement is today because it's just too big of a conversation. And you can learn more about the clearing statement by going to an Access Foundation class or by going to theclearingstatement.com. I don't know how many languages that's in. It's in any language you need it to be. There you go. So please visit theclearingstatement.com if you want more information. Dr. Dane here has an amazing video on there. He explains the clearing statement to the best of which it can be understood. The good news is your mind does not need to understand in order for the energy to change. In fact, it's better that your mind isn't the primary source of your reality. So everywhere you've made, if you can't see it, you can't believe it, the primary source of your reality, will you destroy and uncreate all that, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, POD, PUC, shorts, boys, beyonds. Everywhere you've made, if others can't see it, it can't be real. The primary source of your reality, will you destroy and uncreate all this, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, POD, PUC, shorts, boys, beyonds. And what do you know that you're pretending not to know or denying that you know? That if you knew it, would change reality. And so really saying yes to talk to the entities for me really revolutionized my reality because I had to stop pretending that I didn't know. I had to stop pretending that I wasn't dealing with entities. And so first we begin by clearing entities. Clearing entities is one of the foundational tools of Talk to the Entities, and it's so helpful because so many entities just need to be cleared. The really awesome thing about the entity clearing processes of Talk to the Entities and Access, because they are Access processes first and foremost, is that they're so easy. So let me show you. So to clear an entity, you don't need to say this out loud, but I'll say it out loud just for everyone's benefit. Entities can hear your thoughts. You don't need to say stuff out loud. You can think it all in your head and it'll still affect the entities. So, who are you? Who were you before that? 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 And who will you be in the future? Now, how many of you guys felt a little bit of shift of energy there just going through those who are you questions? Did anyone notice any energy changing? Did anyone? Got a little cooler for me. Now, when you're asking who are you, let me take a few steps back. In order for anything to be an entity, it has to have an identity. If you had no identity, what would you be? Would you still exist? So all the definitions you use to define you that are limiting your choices, will you destroy and uncreate them all, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, POD, PUC, shorts, boys and beyonds. And all of the definitions that the entities have of themselves that are limiting their choices is essentially what you're clearing when you ask them, who are you? Now, you do not need to get an answer when you ask, who are you? A lot of the times you won't, sometimes you will. You could also be clearing tons of entities with this who are you question. Not just one. It'll work on a whole bunch. Even if you don't know what you're doing, the entity clearing tools will work. That's the good news. They're idiot proof. Who are you? I'm so-and-so. Who were you before that? Who were you last lifetime? Oh, so-and-so. And who were you the lifetime before that? Oh, I was so-and-so. And who will you be in the future gets them to see that they have a different choice than the entity they are showing up as right now. So everything that you, all of the decisions and definitions that you have of you that will not allow you to have true choice in life or in the afterlife, will you destroy and uncreate all this, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, POD, POC, shorts, boys, beyonds. And entities hang around because they do not realize they have a choice or because they don't want to make a choice. How many people do you guys know who do not want to choose? Just because they die doesn't mean they automatically make magical choices. If they don't like choosing in life, if you don't like choosing in life, you will be one of those entities that just like hangs around in the corner, rather than moving on to your next choice. So who are you? Who were you all before that? Who were you all before that? Who were you all before that? Who were you all before that, and who will you be in the future? Is one of the entity clearing tools. I think it's in this book. I think it's written in this book. I think it is. I think it's in there. It's in there. And if you can't find it in here, please check out the Talk to the Entities curriculum, and please check out the Access Foundation work. Access Foundation has the entity clearings in it. Talk to the Entities Beginning has the entity clearings in it. 80% of all, what if 80% of all the entities you ever encountered just needed to be cleared? What if you could be the gift that acknowledged what was required and the facilitator that gave those beings another choice? What if you're not disabled because you talk to entities? What if you're super duper because you talk to entities? I'm not sure super duper translates. Super awesome. Super great. Super wonderful. Super yes. Because you are willing to acknowledge when a being requires facilitation. And that's one of the things I really discovered, was that I was coming across all these entities that needed a lot of help. It was like, I was afraid of them, but they weren't really scary, they were just lost. And I'd be like, what are you doing hanging out here in the ladies' bathroom in this parking garage? What are you doing hanging around in this street corner? Like, how long have you been here for? They're like, I've been here for 500 years. I'm like, why? How is this enough for you? So all of the entities that are just hanging around because they're lost, will you guys let them know that it's okay for them to go make another choice? In fact, they should go make another choice now, please. They can go get another body. They could return to oneness. And everywhere you don't think you have that choice, will you destroy and uncreate it, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, POD, POC, shorts, boys, mans. So does anybody have any questions tonight? Yes.
This is a question from the stream from Ivana. She's asking about dreams and entities coming to you in dreams.
Cool.
If you could talk about that, please.
Awesome, absolutely. So when you dream about the people that you used to know that are dead now, that's them actually talking to you. A lot of times people put entity communication into their sleep time because you don't want to deal with it when you're awake. What's easier? When is it easier to deal with stuff? When you're awake or when you're asleep? Really? When you're asleep? You accomplish a lot in your life when your body's asleep? So when you are dreaming about a deceased relative or an entity coming to talk to you, when you're dreaming about it, that is that being coming to say hello to you, okay? You're not making it up. Many people put entity communication and entity awareness into their sleep time because they don't want to deal with it when they're awake. What would happen if you actually dealt with it when you were awake? Would it blow your mind? So everywhere you're unwilling to have your mind blown by what's actually possible, will you destroy and uncreate all that, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, all 9 podpoc shorts, boys and beyonds. My advice, although you didn't ask for it, she just asked, what is this? She didn't ask, what do I do with this? But I'm going to give it to you anyways. And you can pay me later. Ask for them to come when you're awake. In the daytime. Don't do it at night. In the daytime. Ask for them to come when you're awake. Ask for them to give you a sign that's so obvious you cannot ignore their presence. And then relax. People get all freaked out when entities show up for some reason. But most of the freak out is so you won't receive. What if talking to entities was a gift? What if even the obnoxious, mean entities could be a gift? What could you facilitate? What could you receive? What could you discover if you said yes? And you actually started participating with those beings that desire to communicate with you. Now, I'm not saying that all beings are awesome to talk to. Remember, entities are just like people. Some are awesome and most are not. But if they keep coming in your dreams, you might want to say hello to them and then see what's possible. Now, communication is the second tool of Talk to the Entities, which, to be fair, is far more complex, and we can't, it's not complex, it's actually easy, but most people don't make it easy. We cannot go into a lot of that tonight, but this is where, if you desire to learn the easy tools of entity communication, please check out a Talk to the Entities beginning class. In the Talk to the Entities beginning manual, you get a whole flow chart that shows you how to do it. It's awesome. Once you know who you're communicating with and what they're there for, it's magic. So the easy way is be aware. If that's not that easy today, check out the tools and see what you can gain by learning how to communicate with the entities.
Thank you. She says thank you.
Awesome.
Lots of thank yous from the stream.
Thank you all so much. Thank you all so much for being here. It's really such an honor. It took me 5 years to write this Talk to the Entities book. Because number one, I'm really dyslexic and I didn't know how to write a book, so I had to figure that out. Number two, I thought, who the fuck wants to know this? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares what I was aware of when I was a baby? Who cares that I've been hearing voices all my life? But as I wrote the stories in this book, it started to show me how different I was, and that difference, people's lives have been touched. I can't tell you how many people give me feedback about, wow, I read your book and it made me get so much more aware of everything that's been going on all my life. And the thing is, so many people right now are suffering from entity awareness rather than thriving on entity awareness. Because nobody talks about how being aware could be a good thing. Awareness is usually when entities are portrayed at all in literature, in entertainment, in movies, it's in a negative light. Where do you ever see people enjoying their awareness of entities versus where do you see horror movie after horror movie after horror movie after horror movie of how entities are going to get you and eat your face off and kill your soul? So everything that you ever bought from a movie about a ghost that isn't actually true, will you destroy and uncreate all this, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, PUD, PUC, shorts, boys and beyonds. And what if entity awareness was a natural state of your being rather than a thing to fear? Do you have a question, Deepa?
Yeah.
Will you get a microphone, please? I have faith that you can get a microphone. If you can change the world, you can get a microphone. Is it an intro question, Deepa?
It's not a question as much as a request. Would you also like to share with the viewers about the book reading club that was done a few months ago? So they can look up at the website about
Yes.
that.
Well, so there's been some, since Talk to the Entities is not just a book, it's also something that has a lot of facilitators. There have been some Talk to the Entities book clubs. And we've had them in English, German, Dutch, and the one in French is still going on. I think that's all the languages.
Japanese.
And there was not one in Japanese. Not yet. So what, did you want me to tell them about it?
Yeah, just say that it's available. If they wish, they can go to the website, Talk to the Entities
Absolutely.
website.
So, and the cool thing is you can actually purchase the previous book clubs, and they're so amazing because they're about an hour each, and it's a couple of Talk to the Entities facilitators coming on, being live, and reading the book, talking about the tools of Talk to the Entities, and really facilitating these really awesome events. And so I don't really know what a normal book club is supposed to be like because I've never been part of a normal book club, but the Talk to the Entities book club is a great resource for those of you guys that would like to learn more. We will put a link for the Talk to the Entities previous book clubs in the exit email for all of you guys that attended this event. So if you want to, you can go purchase it. It's very inexpensive. I don't know how much it is off the top of my head, but it's like
$30.
it's $30, and it's 7 sessions of incredible Talk to the Entities content.
12.
12 sessions of incredible Talk to the Entities content. Yes,
There's a few questions from the stream about teammates. What are they?
that is not an introduction question.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions from the stream?
Um,
When you're done reading your book, you can use it as a fan.
I need a.
Okay,
I'm getting a French question.
so if there's no more questions,
We have a question. We just need to get it translated.
oh, cool, thank you.
Sorry, Marlene. Thanks, honey.
You guys have to forgive us. A lot of us have been in big classes for many days, so people are a little fried.
So how do you hear entities?
How do I hear entities? When I was a little kid, I used to hear this a lot. Shannon, Shannon. And I was like, ugh. And then they'd tap me on my shoulder, and I was like, ugh. Now I can hear them in a lot of different ways. A lot of times it's this loudness that I hear. Like Max and I are staying at a hotel that has a nightclub on the roof. That was an interesting choice. And every night around 9 o'clock, all the drunk people bring all their entities to the hotel. And it gets very loud. And last night, they turned off the music around midnight, and it was still very loud. And I said to Max, I was like, is the music still playing? And he's like, no, I don't hear the music. But it was still very loud, and I could hear all the entities that the drunk people had left behind. And so sometimes it's just a loudness because there can be like thousands of entities all talking at the same time, like when you go to a nightclub and everyone's like yelling over each other. I can hear that a lot. Sometimes when they talk to me, it's like my own thoughts. It's like I'm hearing my own, it's like their communication is my own thought. And sometimes when I hear them, it's knowing. There. How do you hear them? Wow. Wow, is it getting hotter in here or is it me? It's getting hotter? No. Ooh, okay, it's me. Okay, cool. So, what else can I invite you to? Yes, Monica.
From the stream. Oh, so someone is just would like for you to speak a bit about what to do to develop awareness of entities. She wishes to be in contact with them, to talk to them, but nothing happens. What do I do to develop this ability?
Be lucky you can't hear them. Just kidding. Well, have you done a Talk to the Entities class? You can just type back to Monica if you're there still. If you want to be more aware, you actually just have to ask, what's it going to take for me to be more aware of entities? Now, did you guys hear how she said nothing happens? That is usually not true. So what you need to start asking is, who is this that asked the question, Monica?
I see Borges, and I asked, have you done a Talk to the Entities class? Yes, with Shannon this year.
With Shannon this year.
Yes.
Okay. You have to start to ask what you are getting. Because a lot of times, let me put it this way. Do you have any points of view about how you should be perceiving entity stuff? You know what I mean? Like, do you have any points of view about the way it should be? Like, how many points of view about how entities should talk to you have you bought from movies? And will you destroy and uncreate all that? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, pod, poc, shorts, boys, and beyonds. So you have to ask, number one, what's it going to take to be more aware? But number two, you have to start acknowledging what you are aware of. There isn't nothing happening. Trust me, there's something happening. You're just not acknowledging it, okay? So you do have to start to acknowledge what you are aware of. Acknowledging awareness makes it stronger. Ignoring awareness makes it weaker. Acknowledge and it will grow. Ignore it and it will weaken. Yes?
There's a question about, again from the stream, from Selena. She's asking, what about dragons, unicorns, fairies? Are those entities as well?
Maybe on another planet in another lifetime? All the dragons have turned into mountains. Okay, anything else?
Thank you.
It's a strange introduction because it's right in the middle of a very advanced class. So it's sort of like, what else is possible? And I want to thank all of you guys that showed up from the outside world tonight for this event. Read the book. You will like it or you'll hate it, one of the two. And please recognize that is now the time for us to come out of the dark ages of entity fear. It's like, what if the world could stop being afraid of what they're aware of and actually start becoming capable with what they're aware of? What if working with entities was a gift, not a curse, and definitely not forbidden? Is working with ghosts a light, easy, joyful area for most people, or is it terrifying and shrouded in judgment and made really wrong and made really, really significant and really difficult? What if what you think about entities today is the way in which people are going to think about you after your body dies? So what are entities? And what can you do to contribute to changing the consciousness of that on the planet? Every person who says that they're afraid of a ghost reinforces a negative reality. Every person that says, yeah, I'll deal with this ghost, makes it possible for there to be another choice for you and for the entities. I don't know why I was chosen to be the mascot and the voice for Talk to the Entities. Because I had no ambitions to be a big entity superstar. There are other people in the world who think that talking to entities is very cool. I have seen it as the gift that it can be, and the peace that it has brought to my life has been tremendous. So I wish to share that with all of you. I hope that you come out of fear of what you know, and you start acknowledging what you're aware of, even if it's weird, even if it's not normal, and even if you can't define it. What could you facilitate if you were willing to say yes to awareness? What entities could you clear? Who and what is talking to you? And what great gift of receiving do the beings of light desire to give to you just for being you? I invite you to talk to the entities. I invite you to have fun. Be brave. Dive in or not. Do whatever you want. We'll be here. We look forward to meeting you somewhere around the world. And I thank all of you that were here tonight for this event. Go forth and be different. And how does it get better than this? Thanks, you guys. Anybody that is here tonight would like me to sign their book, I will be up the back at one of the tables doing that for you guys. Anybody online, you want me to sign your book, you got to come to one of my classes and bring your book and I'll sign it for you. See you guys.